My guests today are writer-director Ziad Hamza and writer and executive producer Christine Handy and their new feature film, Hello Beautiful. Now, Ziad's body of work as a director, producer, and writer has earned over 50 awards and honors, and he has directed numerous award-winning films from all over the world. Quite an impressive body of work. This year, Ziad wrote, produced, and directed Hello Beautiful based on the best-selling book Walk Beside Me by Christine Handy. And in Hollywood, Ziad created two extraordinary theaters, the Open Fist Theater Company and the Egyptian Arena. As artistic director of the award-winning Open Fist Theater, Ziad brought to the Los Angeles theater community prestigious international playwrights. He has directed and produced over 60 major stage productions. Also with us today is Christine Handy, who is a passionate advocate, keynote speaker, author, and model who champions women to realize their power and inner beauty amidst adversity. Now, as a breast cancer survivor, Christine is proof that pain does not have to limit one from thriving. And she uses her experience in the fashion industry to challenge outdated cultural values that once limited certain groups of women in the past. And she also uses her story to inspire hope and courage, as well as providing real-life wisdom to those who have been affected by illness and trauma. She is also the writer and executive producer of the new feature film, Hello Beautiful, starring Tricia Helfer. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our guests today, writer-director Ziad Hamza and author and executive producer Christine Handy and their incredible feature film, Hello Beautiful, to the show. Well, welcome to both of you today.
Well, thank you so much for this wonderful welcome. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, Christine, I'm going to start it off with you because you wrote the book Walk Beside Me, which the film Hello Beautiful is based on. What's it like seeing, well, part of your life on screen?
You know, if it was self-indulgent, it would probably be easier. But because the mission is so grand and I'm trying to change the narrative of cancer films in Hollywood, it hasn't hit me quite yet that, this is really my story on the big screen. I have such a mission behind it that once it's, to the level where I want it to be, maybe I can sit back and enjoy the ride a bit more.
Well, when I sat down to watch this film, part of me was like, please don't let it be a film like Beaches, because I never liked the film. Never liked the film for multiple reasons. But then when I saw this film in its entirety, I was blown away. Because this is a film that every cancer survivor or even someone going through cancer or even trauma, they need to see this film because there are so many life lessons in this film. And for you, Ziad, how did you come to write the screenplay and direct this film? Because it is incredible.
Well, thank you. I can't say that was easy. I can't say it was natural for me to be able to write such multi-layered approach to this particular story. But when I had to go back to what and how the book itself impacted me, I was gripped by certain emotions and the traumas of being swept from one angle to another, from one side to another. And there are the relationship that sort of pulled all of them together still was at the core, at the heart of this particular journey. So that gave values to what seemed sometimes to be a negative aspect, or what seemed to be such a dark place, or what seemed to be such a high, joyous place. None of these places seem to really be so grounded as to stay the same. It was ever evolving and changing. And having that particular feeling and the tumultuousness of this particular approach from the book, I had to know Christine firsthand. I had to get to know her psyche, her thinking, her heart, her care about what in the world. All of these things really along with the book, came to help me and to guide the process in a way that will do justice to this particular story.
Yeah,
And
this. Oh no, go ahead, Zia.
just while maintaining all of these different layers that became very important to holding the story together.
That was the thing as I was watching the film and I was making notes, numerous notes. And you're right, there are multiple layers to the character Willow.
Mm-hmm.
And there are multiple layers of life that she is going through. And you brought every single one of those to the silver screen in this film. And I was literally making notes, writing down everything that I saw, every little nuance that she was going through, everything that she was possibly thinking about and experiencing. And I'm like, wow, this is probably the only film I've ever seen that truly brings forth someone going through cancer or going through some sort of traumatic illness and really making it so real to the point that when the audience watches this film, they're going to understand about those who are going through a situation like this and better understand that person and to really love them better. Because,
Yeah.
like Christine, you mentioned earlier, I mean, to have cancer as part of the subject matter, because this film goes beyond cancer,
Yes.
and to use cancer as basically the basis of the plot line, it's not a light subject to cover. And I've seen short films where they kind of use it and the film is a little bit comedic. And then some of them are so dark, but it never gets down to, I would say, the emotional root of what it's like someone experiencing cancer. I mean, for you, did Tricia portray what someone actually goes through? Because she did a stellar acting job in this film.
Yeah, she blew me away. And I commend her for all of her ability to dig deep into and I'll go back and say she was also a former supermodel. So she did have that level of understanding of that business, which I think helped contribute to how she related to this character. And Trisha is historically been had a different role in what projects she takes on. And so when we first were introduced to her, I watched some of her projects like Battlestar Galactica, and how she performed in this film was extraordinary. Like you said, I personally think that, I mean, I have visions of her winning an award for this, a big award. But going back to what you said about the depth of watching a cancer patient, my father, who was involved in my cancer journey but lived in a different city, and he watched this film from start to finish and he wept and he said, I was there. I was at the surgeries. I flew in town for big moments of your journey, and I had no idea the pain you went through. And so, for cancer patients and survivors and families and caretakers to see this film, to say, what I went through is seen and what I went through is not dismissed, even though it may be triggering, right? I mean, because the depth of pain people go through is certainly in this film. We didn't want to negate that. But it's also, people want to be seen and heard on film and media. And that's a really important part of illness. When you seek out stories of hope, you don't want to continue to see stories of tragedy and despair.
I like the fact that this was a film where she was a supermodel. And the reason I say that is because you have to take an elevated position and you have to break it apart. You've got to strip it away. And this was the best way to do that. Instead of, let's say, you make this film, the person who has cancer is just, a regular person. And I'm not discounting anybody that has cancer. We've had cancer in my own family. but it's the impact and it's also the message because
Mm.
you explored identity, resilience, strength, and not even just of Willow, but also every single character in this film was tested. And Ziad, so let me ask you, how were you able to create that balance with what Willow was going through to portray her journey, but also exposing the fears of the others?
Well, there are a few things in which I want to add to some of the stuff that you had already started. Uh, First, with Christine, or the main character, being a model and a supermodel for that. Um, in that, when an individual, a regular individual, will get any particular cancer, and breast cancer, it's not their livelihood, it's not the image in which they were pressured to constantly have, it is their body and their physical being. Well, this was so much more amplified when we made the character, where who she was, a supermodel, to allow for the extreme impact of what kind of journey it might take this particular character on, because it dealt with the identity crisis. Because women identify a great deal, of course, with having their full bodies, and for them to lose one of the most identifiable female um, element from their existence, it becomes that much harder. But furthermore, these horrible feelings, that the lack of understanding what is happening to them, the lack of association with the others, their sense of isolation from themselves as well as from their communities itself, forced me to look at how the impact can be seen from other point of views. What happens to the daughter? What happens to the husband? What happens to the mother-in-law? What happens to all of these individuals in the lives of this person whom they witnessed at the top of the world, coming down and crumbling in front of them? And all of that brought to surface their inner feelings, their inner fears, their inner love, their inner respect. All of the emotions were worn on the sleeves because of the intensity of the situation in which they were dealing with. So it wasn't really only Christine's journey, it was everyone's in Christine's life, whether it is family or friend, that saw her at her highest, at her noblest, falling and crumbling like an angel falling from the sky, and having to pick herself once again into a place where she can resume her obligations of being a great friend, of being a wonderful mother, of being a great wife, and on and on.
You know, this film is so timely because we live in a world of social media. We live in a world of celebrity clickbait,
Right.
everybody wanting to base their self worth on their appearance or their career. But Hello Beautiful strips all of this away, shows us what the important things in life really are. And Christine, did that kind of happen to you in your own journey?
Yes, it's very relevant to my life. I was completely focused and saturated in anything external, including materialism and, not just focused on my external facade, but like coveting it. And once all those false idols were stripped away, quite literally, my beautiful blonde locks that I, depended on for, a lot of modeling years and jobs, was gone. And I was bald. And, I can kind of look back and think, those, I felt happiness in my life. But when I rebuilt my life after all that was stripped away, I felt great joy because I was I was living a life as a servant instead of serving myself. And so you see in the film, very much similar to my life, that she was coveting in the beginning, her job and her, external pressures of society, to shifting to, in the end, where you see her, serving at the, children's center and things like that. And you can tell, and even Tricia portrayed this so beautifully. There's this inner light inside of Tricia at the end of the film versus in the beginning of the film, where things were very rushed and she was beautiful and she had these, beautiful gowns on, and these beautiful moments of photography and these in modeling jobs. But there's not a light within side of her, and you can certainly see that in the end of the film.
Yeah, it's funny because when I look back, especially when I think about the very beginning of the film,
Mhm.
there's an emptiness there.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, and then towards, like when she was serving at the children's center, there
Mhm.
is that eternal light. And Trisha plays this part so well that you can actually see the countenance upon her
Mm.
face. Because even this morning, it's so funny that you brought up the word idol, because this morning, in the midst of my devotions, one of the areas was talking about, what are the idols? Are there idols in your life that you're not aware of? Are you
Mhm.
placing something above your creator? And is there something that you need to get rid of? For you, though, in your own battle, or the battle that you had gone through with breast cancer, was there something that you truly had to let go so you could really find your true self?
Oh, I had to let go of so many things. I had to get down to nothing to rebuild my life on faith. The false idols were great and they had this grip on me. And, part of it was that I was in an industry that was so focused on external since I was a child. But I also missed a lot of years of the introspective work that I should have been doing as a young adult, because I was still so focused on the external. And so my self esteem was caught up in the things that really weren't important. And I didn't know who I was until I was at the bottom. And once I realized, all these people were showing up in my life to help me, why wasn't I helping myself? Why was this level of kind of deep insecurity, tethering me to this old life? And when I let go of all of that, the insecurity, the materialism, the external dependence on beauty, I was able to rebuild my life differently. And again, I had to go through that crushing to come back, which is why this movement and the book and the film has become so crucial to me, because I was trying to kind of, cushion other people's blows so they didn't have to go through the despair that I went through and didn't have to see the films that made me feel more fearful.
Well, did you feel like that when you were going through your own cancer journey? Did you feel that you were spending a lot of time protecting those around you instead of protecting yourself?
In the beginning, but not in the middle or the end, because I was so violently ill with in my journey. I had to really let go, and let go of my pride, let go of my ego, and let go of the worldly view that women say, well, we can do anything. Well, I'm not saying that we can't, but we can do anything. Collaboration is in, competition is out. There's no ceiling to what any of us can accomplish, but we accomplish that as a community and we rise together. I don't believe in, saying, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm by myself. I don't believe in that anymore. And so, yeah, I had to lose myself to that as well.
There's a scene in this film, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a film you have to see. There's a scene in the film where Willow arrives at the hospital,
Hmm.
and it's the makeup scene.
Hmm.
I looked at that and I went, she's hiding,
Mm.
she's embarrassed,
Shame.
the makeup scene is literally, I mean, the word literal fits this, literally trying to cover up what is going on in her life. And she doesn't want, and she thinks what she did, and her friend helped her, that no one's going to notice. But I love the fact that you bring in, um, you brought this nurse in that basically says, we treat everybody here the same. And really strip that mask away in an instant. And it was, I looked at it as being a very powerful scene. So I love that. Now, Ziad, I want to ask you because Tricia Helfer had to bring a mixed bag of emotions to play Willow. How did you help her bring the best out of Willow, but also protect Tricia's mental health to play such a demanding role?
Um, Absolutely. Well, Trisha is one of those incredibly generous actors who allow themselves the opportunity to actually go a particular journey, whether they knew it or not. One of the great things about Trisha is her uh, malleability. She had an experience, not necessarily herself, but someone in which she cared deeply about that went through this particular experience. So she certainly drew on that particular aspect for truthfulness. Plus, making sure that Christine made herself constantly available for whatever question, whatever might Trisha needs to understand furthermore to play it. But with Trisha, because of course, with all the respect that I have for her, I treated her like any other actor who understands the language of trying to embody a particular character. We want piece by piece in building the moments, the details of each moment. And I allowed her to bring all of her energy, all of her creativity into that particular moment of the piece. So we didn't build it with generalities. We build it from the details, allowing her to build the big picture from within her. We did quite a bit of rehearsal. That's where most of the work actually took place in developing not only Trisha, but all the other characters so that they understand their particular journey. Um, and it worked. It worked great because after the rehearsal process, the Trisha and all the other actors would go to their own space and would develop furthermore of their technique, of their style, of their approach to this particular character, and constantly making sure that they are in a healthy place to be able to deliver the magic they needed to do and yet step back and away from it when necessary. Um, she blew my mind one day when I'm just going to call it the table scene.
The
Um,
under the table scene,
Under the table scene.
I
Uh,
I wept.
uh, I wept watching her while I'm directing her. I wept.
Mm.
I had to hide in a corner by myself because I didn't want any of the crew or the actors to see me. But for a few minutes after I called cut, I couldn't move because I was so filled with emotions. She did an incredible job at that. And I was just watching her and her process of how she put herself in that particular space, whether by the music that she listens to, whether by the focus, the concentration on what she's about to go through. But when I call action, completely magic. just
Mhm.
came out. Not just once, over and over and over.
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
That scene alone fits the word beautiful
Yeah.
Mm.
because Trisha brought it, and I recognized the actor when Syed came into the scene,
Yeah.
and because I had seen him in a short film, Jellyfish and Lobster, which had won the BAFTA, so I recognized him right off. And when he came into the scene, and the look on his face, he never says a word, but the look on his face, and I'm thinking, I know exactly what you're thinking, and
Mhm.
and the way that he stood there,
Mm.
there was an uncertainty, there was a
Mhm.
Yeah.
fear, and all wrapped together in one. It's been a while. Now, I've seen this in short films, but in feature films, it's extremely rare in this day and age of everybody pumping out content right after the other. But to see a film when every actor
Mm.
brings their A game,
Mm.
and to watch each and every one of them do their part, and how there's this flow, this synergistic effect. It's just total filmmaking brilliance with this film. And for a film that has a very, very tough subject, plot line, subject matter, this film does not drag, it does not lag, it moves, and you're in. And the thing, the thing is, Ziad, is that you place us, the audience, into their realm. We're not on the outside looking in. You've put us in there. So we feel everything that these actors are bringing forth to bring this story to life. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And
Mhm.
for you, Christine, I've got to ask, did Tricia, did she ask any particular questions to you when it came to a certain scene to really get to bring forth an impact to the part?
Well, going back to that particular scene, I couldn't be there on set because that actually happened to me, that whole scene. And so that's in a very pivotal moment in my had been in my life. And so I couldn't even watch it. But there was a couple times where Trisha would ask me, not for that scene, but questions related to my relationship with my husband. And that she wanted to kind of explore the most with me. It wasn't there. Well, I take it back. There was also the biopsy scene,
Mm.
if you recall.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I was there on set. I was there on set most days. One with the two scenes I didn't go on set for. The biopsy scene, she was reacting to the pain. And if you've never had a biopsy, you don't necessarily know how far to react or how less to react. And so I kind of guided her on that. But in general, the most questions that she needed me to answer were between the husband and wife relationship and understanding that.
You know, this is a film that has, it's almost like putting multiple mini stories together and then
Mm.
having them work together so it flows and tells the story correctly. The relationship between Willow and her husband, that is probably one of the strongest
Mm.
sets of scenes in this film because Zia, you left no stone unturned when it came to the relationship between Willow and her husband because there was literally a kind of a quiet tug of war going on from not only their words, um, their innermost thoughts, their fears, and I don't think you left anything out. And Christine, I think you would probably agree. Nothing was left out in any of those scenes with Willow and her husband. Yeah, Khalil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. One of the long ago, I constantly worked with a philosophy in to be honest with my audience, not only to a certain point, but one of the earlier films 25 years ago or so that I made was about a female boxer. And what I wanted to do is actually bring in the audience not to the edge of the ropes, but over the ropes, to be right inside, to feel the pain, the punches, the hits, all of the elements in which the character is going through. And that was really important for me to make sure in this film that truth, reality, honesty is a pinnacle in terms of the life in which we are uh, seeing unravel and being built together. Um, so that relationship between the husband and the wife, that sense of honesty, where sometimes it's overwhelming for anyone to be caring for a patient of cancer, especially when they put that patient earlier on. We understand that they were at the top of their lives, the top of their career, and they loved what they looked like. They were empowered by that. And all of a sudden, they flip to the opposite. What happens to that person? How do they go through that particular process? So it was necessary for me to bring that sense of honesty, that the partner is going to be challenged. The partner is going to be shaken to the core. How they fare in that particular relationship, that patient might be able to come back because of their endurance, because of their power, because of their attentiveness. And so when you look at the story, really in the core of the story, it's a love story. It's a love story that is interrupted by cancer. And that's the way we have always shaped it. We've always looked at it, whether it is in the relationship with her husband, with her daughter, with her son, with her friends, and on and on. That core constantly held the story together.
Yeah, when I was watching the scenes between Willow and Khalil,
Mm,
I was watching him because, and I had to go back and I had to keep rethinking of all of the scenes. I almost had this whole film memorized. And I kept going back in thinking, because I'm looking at it even almost like, okay, what would it be if that was me?
right,
And so I was like, okay, Khalil's fear is he didn't know how to be there for her in the beginning because
exactly.
he had his career, she had her career. She would be gone at weeks at a time, then she'd come back. So you have this routine, and it's almost like you're passing each other. It's like two ships passing each other in the night.
Right,
Okay, they're there. You're glad they're there, but there's not a connection.
right,
But it was his own identity as a man and as a husband that was tested. And one of the things that I learned by watching this film, and for a lot of, and I've heard this with cancer patients, they say, when I got diagnosed with cancer, everybody left. It's like, and most people don't come around because they don't know what to say. They feel uneasy. And with Khalil, part of that was I can't control this situation. I'm a man, I'm the head of the household. This is my wife. I can't control that situation. I'm choking up right now just thinking about it.
yeah,
I can't
yeah,
control the situation. And that's what hurt him so much because he wanted to control it. He wanted to take her pain and her hurt away. He wanted to take her worries and her fears away, but he couldn't do that. He couldn't take away he couldn't make the surgery any better. You know, he felt helpless. And that's what this film shows. It's okay.
right. He couldn't even articulate that. He had to go through a particular process to be able to when it came down that he had to be there, that's the under the table scene, he was able to, for first time, says, I just hate that I can't take the pain away from you. Um, that particular approach, where a husband constantly thought of his wife, a very strong, independent, uh, constantly flying anywhere in the world, and all of a sudden to see her so weak and broken, and him along with her having the same experience because he's going through this whole internal struggle of what to do, how do I do it, how do I be there for her, and
Well,
that's
see,
the
that's the thing. That's the thing in this story. In the beginning, she is a very strong,
Mhm.
independent woman. But he found solace in that because it's like, I don't have to worry about her because she's tough and she can take care of herself.
Exactly.
Then the diagnosis hits and the whole world is turned upside down. Now he is worried because he sees this strong individual become weak and worried and in fear and scared, and he doesn't know how to make that better. That's
Correct.
why this film is twofold. Those going through cancer, this is the one story. This allows people around those people to go, oh, that's what
Mhm.
they're really going through. That's what they're thinking. That's their battle. The
Yeah.
other story is all the people on the outside, where now the cancer patient is looking at all of them going, so that's why they act that way. And
Mhm.
now this is the only film I've ever seen where you're bringing this together. And for you, Christine, are there any words of advice to friends and family who don't know what to say or do when a loved one or a friend is battling cancer or a terminal illness?
Well, I think that's the perfect thing to say. I don't know what to say, but I do want to be here for you. I don't know how to do that. Help me. Where do you need help? Is it a meal? Is it ask questions? I'll never forget somebody in my community said to me after I was finished with all my treatment, they said, well, we saw so many people at your house all the time that we just, we didn't think that you needed any support. And I said to them, don't do that again. Because when you're a patient like that, you need all the support from, multiple people and communities. And you can't imagine the support that you need because it is a scary time. But I say that all the time to people. If you don't know what to say that. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I love that. That I think, and we all need to do that now. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this, like I said, this film is a very, very big life lesson on
Mm,
both sides.
thank
And
you.
there's and I'm not going to say anything about the ending. It was done perfectly. I would have not changed a thing. So Ziad, you're brilliant. Um,
Well, thank you. Thank you.
the the scene that surprised me only because there was a twist in this storyline. And when Willow shows up at the school to go to pick up her son,
Mm,
Mm.
and then there's the, I don't know if I'd call it at that in that scene a friend, but it's kind of like, as a parent, you go to the school, pick up your kid, uh, you have acquaintances, you know.
mhm,
That whole scene is
mhm,
extremely powerful, but it leads to another storyline.
mm,
Correct.
And when I went back to look at it, I went back to the scene when she shows up at the school, and all I wanted to see was to look at the look on the other woman's face. Because
So,
now when I look at that look actually means something completely different. Because when the audience will first see the scene, it may just wash over them. They may not think of too much about it. They're like, oh, wow, she's just, you know, maybe she's stuck up, maybe, she feels entitled or whatever. Maybe she now feels better than Willow because Willow's sick. But that's not what that look was about.
No,
Mhm.
And that
no, very
look,
good.
and
Very good.
that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to give it away, because that scene sets up something even more powerful later into the film, which Christine, you kind of alluded to, because now there is a situation where two people now understand one another, or start to learn to understand one another. And I didn't even see this coming, but it was a perfect addition to the story. Now, I must ask you, Christine, did something like that similar happen to you?
Not really. When you're diagnosed with a disease at my age, which was 41, and again, breast cancer right now is an epidemic and it's younger and younger people, but I didn't have any contemporaries that had been diagnosed, which is why I sought out so much film and media about what I was about to go through because I had no idea. And so I didn't really have anybody in the schools or any friends that went through it. My mother's best friend died of it 3 years before. But other than that, no. It was an addition that Zia had put into the film. There are some additions to the film that didn't happen in my life, which were, they added a great deal to the story. That's all Ziad's genius.
Yeah, I had so many things written down, and I kept looking at all of my notes, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to ask that because I'm trying to avoid the spoilers,
Yeah.
because I want the impact. I want the audience to have the exact same impact I did, because I cried. I
Yeah.
confess, I cried when I watched, and more than once, because there's many scenes that you may not bust out crying, but there's going to be tears running down your face. Um, and all I want to say is there's this one scene. Mm.
Love it. If we
Oh my
can
goodness.
evoke this much emotion in people, what a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I love the flower scene because it was funny.
It was funny.
I love that. But see, here's the thing about that scene. Um, because that was after the table scene. So there was now this full acceptance of one another between husband and wife.
Mm.
And so I loved it. But then there was the scene, and I can't I don't even want I can't even explain it because I don't want to give it away. But there's this beautiful scene, and where all I'll say is she's looking out the window,
Mm. Yeah.
and the camera, it shows her from the back, and it slowly moves around. I was stunned
Mm.
on. I have to give this one to you, Ziad, because I was stunned on. This is the part of the film that is as real can get, and I don't
Mm.
think that was a special effect. I think that was absolutely real, and you know what
We
I'm
didn't
talking
have
about.
it's a fact. It's not a special effect. We didn't have any special effects simply because we didn't have the money for special effects. Would have made life a lot easier, but we had to depend on certain creative aspects of how to make sure that we are able to relate the information without it being AI or whatever. Yet, mentioning the scene when she went to school to pick up the child, which is an addition, yes. That was essential in keeping up with the fact and the truth of breast cancer. It's not always a happy ending. And I had to create a sense of contrast of what Christine's character was, where constantly surrounded by support, where a character who didn't have anybody, they didn't have much to hang on to live for. So that needed to be contrasted as to raise the value of what it means to be surrounded by love. That's one. And two, both the husband and that character, it, specifically, they had to go through this tumultuous, horrendous experience in order for them to shed away these masks and be able to speak truthfully to one another, rather than the social impediment in which we place on ourselves, the shackles, the images, the masks, all of that dissolved, and we were connected on a different level when that happened. So there were very essential characters and essential result from them.
Very much so. There's and I wanted to take it to that scene when she befriended the other woman, and that's all I'll say.
Right.
Because there's a message there.
Yes.
And I've heard this from people who have battled illnesses. It could be cancer, it could be whatever. Some people's own healing comes when they give of themselves in the midst of their trauma.
Mm.
And for some people, that triggers healing in their own body, physically, emotionally. And in this film, I looked at it because I looked at it like she gave of herself in the midst of her own battle to someone who really needed it, someone who felt lost and alone. And I found that beautiful.
Mm.
And then on the scene that I just mentioned, where she's standing in front of the window,
Right.
the added bonus of that scene was when Khalil came up behind her.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's standing in front of the window, coming to terms. She fully, in that moment, accepts
Exactly.
who she is. She accepts maybe the new her. And she is not going to hide away from the world anymore. She is Willow. She is still a supermodel. And this is who I am. This is what I've gone through, or maybe continuing to go through. And there was it's like victory
Yes.
in that scene.
Yes.
Well, and what he
Absolutely.
says to her, right? That's
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It is a triumph. It is a triumphant moment because the journey that she had just come out of. And in relation to giving much of herself to the other
Well,
lady who was,
victory never comes without a few scars.
oh, absolutely. And that's precisely the fact. It is a benchmark of how much growth this person who was so feeling sheltered on top of the world, unharmed, perfect in every way and shape, all of a sudden having to be able to have grown to see the pains of others, to see the sufferings of others, and instead of looking away, to embrace them, to help, to extend a hand. That's how much growth the character was able to make through their journey. So that was essential. And the look on the face in that particular window scene, which is the one outside the world, that look out there just summons the whole thing completely and utterly. And Tricia just did it right on,
Oh
perfectly.
yeah. I mean, when the films, I knew who she was because I was always a big fan of the series Lucifer, and she was
Yes.
playing Lucifer's mother in that series, so I recognized her right off. but the level
Yeah.
of acting that she
Mhm.
brought to this part of Willow is just, I mean, I don't think there's a word to actually describe what she
Mm.
brought to this film. And I think and I loved how every character grew. I really
Yeah.
like the fact how the mother-in-law grew.
Yes.
And because there was that one scene, and people will know it when they see it towards the latter in the film. There's that one scene with the mother-in-law, stellar. And what wasn't a whole lot of words spoken, but just enough words to like, wow. And but you also in this film, there is like this little hidden story going on that
Yeah.
pops up every now and then. And all I will say is it involves the little girl.
Yeah.
Why was that story important to the overall message of the film?
It is so essential as another benchmark of the sense of growth, the ability of us seeing and feeling the pains of the others, especially of, unfortunately, what we're going through in this country at the moment. We have a lot of homeless kids, sadly. Um, One of the things that we wanted to do, we talked a lot about this young character. First is to give hope, a second chance of being the mother who is constantly present, who, regardless where they go, that they will be there always. But also because we saw, literally, we saw her earlier pass by her, not seeing her, not noticing her. Only when the growth happened, when her eyes were open to the world and embraced her entirety of being, that she was able to actually see the other people's pain. And so that young angel
Mm.
represented a whole new beginning, a new hope for the journey to come.
Yeah, I I picked that up.
Mm.
And I love the addition to of that little secret story behind this whole film, because because it's really a metaphor for many things.
Yep.
And that goes back to when Willow was serving at the children's center. And again, it was that
Yeah.
look, that countenance on her face. Like you said earlier, Christine, you could see that there's a joy, there was a love, there was a peace, there was a hope. It was all upon her face.
Right.
I cannot I could go on and on.
So could we.
But I agree. I don't think you could have named this film anything better than Hello Beautiful. And on the filmmaking side, I'm just going to ask two little questions on the filmmaking side because that's how deep I go into these things. One, the coloring was spot on because the coloring played into the scenes. It's kind of like if we go back to the table scene. I thought that was some of the best coloring I'd ever seen.
Hmm.
The other, which I really started to pay attention to, and Ziad, I'll let you explain. Tell me about the music score because
Mm.
it too was beautiful, but it enhanced the emotion of the whole storyline.
Absolutely. Every part of this film was meticulously paid attention to, whether it is the music, whether it is the great cinematography that Terence Hayes was able to bring together. The Marco Werba actually flew over here. Christine brought him from Italy to watch some of the filming because we wanted him to feel what it is, not just to look at the picture, the finished picture, and just marry whatever notes that he can come up with. We wanted him to actually feel the process of the creation of this, of how it came together. And that helped tremendously make things very clear to the direction, to the mood of the piece, to the style of music. And it created such a consistency, um, with such a continuity in terms of how the music became a character in itself. It started somewhere, it arched, and ended up somewhere else. The same thing with cinematography. When uh, Terence Hayes and I sat, we talked specifically about how the journey actually is going to take place, from the top going down and then rising up again. And we chose certain kind of lenses for the beginning and the end, and we chose different kind of coloring scheme palette for the middle, where it was shaped geometrically like a ball, where you're sliding from one side, you go on a roller coaster, and you jump to the other side. And we allowed it to be bracketed and mirrored in such a way. So nothing was accidental in this film. Nothing. Not a word,
No.
not an image, not a note, not anything. So
And
all worked.
that's what I love about film. Now,
Mm.
I love short films because a lot of people pay very, very close attention to every single little detail, because you're only dealing with, let's say, anywhere from 7 minutes to maybe 20. But in a feature film,
Mm.
it irks me to no end how much laziness, how
Mm.
much wasted screen time there is. But with this film, Hello Beautiful, everything is in its proper place.
Mm.
I can see every detail that was paid attention to. And I have to ask, where can everyone see Hello Beautiful?
Well, the great news is we are the spotlight opening film of the 25th Beverly Hills Film Festival. April 1st is our day to premiere at Man's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. And that particular screening is already sold out. We are hoping that the festival wants to do another screening as an encore screening, because there are so many people. We're leaving them to do their thing. So we're gonna go after this to Columbus um, on April 26th, and hopefully the road continues wide open to all the other different cities in which we'll be coming. So we'll be coming to your city, wherever you are.
Well, I will say this. Everybody needs to make sure that when Hello Beautiful comes to their city, when it's at a particular film festival, you better be sitting in that theater when this film starts and not to miss it. And I can't wait that when this film finally makes its debut to the whole world, you have got to let me know so I can shout it from the rooftops, because you got a very big fan here of not only your work, but of this incredible film. And ladies and gentlemen, Hello Beautiful is a very powerful and emotionally charged film that delves into the harrowing yet transformative journey of Willow, who was a successful model whose life is shattered by a devastating breast cancer diagnosis. Now, this film is based on Christine Handy's best-selling novel, Walk Beside Me, and the film explores themes of identity, resilience, and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. Now, guided by Christine Handy's real life experiences, the film offers an unfiltered look, and I mean unfiltered look, at the raw, often painful reality of battling cancer, while balancing the perspectives of those around Willow, her family, her friends, the medical professionals fighting alongside her. But through powerful performances, particularly by Tricia Helfer as Willow, Hello Beautiful captures the vulnerability, strength, and complexities of those affected by life-altering diagnosis. A story of survival, transformation, and the enduring power of human connection Hello Beautiful is more than a film about illness. It is a testament to the spirit of those who rise from their darkest moments, embracing life with newfound purpose and love. Hello Beautiful is a feature film that knows how to tell a complete story. Again, Tricia Helfer brings Willow to life and embraces every emotion of one who is facing her mortality and finding her true self in the process of the unthinkable. This film gets 5 stars from Bondon Cinema, as it is a must-see film. Again, when it comes to your city at a film festival now, again, buy the ticket, sit into that theater, and watch it. Put your phone away. Remove every distraction, and you need to focus because there are multiple stories here. And once you see it, you'll walk away a different person. And if you don't, you need to see it again. So I want to thank you, Ziad and Christine, for sharing this absolute, probably one of my favorite films of the year so far with me today. I simply loved it. And I want to thank you again for coming on and talking about it.
Well, thank you so much for having us. You've been a gracious host. You are certainly a very sophisticated viewer who got the whole picture inside and out, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I can't wait to see what you do next, Ziad. So you're going to have to come back so I can watch that film and dissect it too.
Of course. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Christine, wow, again, I see you online, and you're such an inspiration and encouraging to so many people. I'm almost wondering, maybe this film, Hello Beautiful, maybe it needs to be a foundation so that way all of us can learn that when we see people going through adversity, we just simply say, hello, beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate your accolades. It's a true joy to be able to do something in the world that is needed, and there's a space for it. And so I know it will be accepted, and I can't wait to see Tricia shine from this and win the ultimate award.
Amen to that. And ladies and gentlemen, again, be prepared. Keep your eyes out for Hello Beautiful, a feature film that, will reach very deep down inside and hopefully change you as a person for the better, and gives us a whole new outlook on life as well as our mortality. But I want to thank all of you for watching. And as for me, you're either going to see me at the movies or from the red carpet.
Hello, beautiful.
Thank you for making me feel so loved. You have a fantastic career, good kids.
When is she going to stop pretending that her job really matters?
Your mother hates me so much.
Are you trying to ruin your life? You're only 15, for God's sake.
How long are you gonna stay the next time you fly off? And take your perfect picture again and again and again?
You feel that? What is that? I think that the kids would be happier if you were home more consistently.
I'm afraid I have bad news. Willow?
Oh my God, is that Willow Boutros?
You know you want to run, so just go. Do you know how I know? It's because you look away from me, and when you do look at me, I only see pity, I don't see love, and that's a sure way to ruin a woman's self-esteem.
Willow!
I feel like I'm living in someone else's body. Like each day, find a new me lurking in some dark corner.
Nothing is going to take you away from me. Nothing. You nervous?
No.